Okay, meeting is called to order. Roll call, please, George.
The date is June 26, 2014. The time is 6:30 p.m. Rick Charette,
Present.
Bob Collins,
Here.
Gary Ciccarone,
Here.
Jim Freeman,
Here.
Ed Comeau,
Here.
David Champion II,
Present.
Rich Zacher,
Here.
Richard Peckham,
Here.
John Merrigan.
So, everyone's here, less the alternate, John Merrigan, so we don't have to appoint any alternates. Public comments? Announcements, correspondence, mail. I wasn't gonna go over this, but it's here, so. State of New Hampshire Office of Energy Planning, request for proposals for consulting services related to the U.S. Department of Energy's rooftop solar challenge. Anybody interested in this can take a look at it. Review and possible approval of meeting minutes from the June 19th planning. Normally we do these, go over the minutes at the regular planning board, so we're just gonna blow by this right now and get right to what we're here for in a special meeting. That's the proposals to amend the zoning ordinance. Laura sent us a revised version of our zoning ordinance that everybody got last week. Did you get one, Gary?
What?
Email? The zoning ordinance with Laura's comments on it? You got it? Okay. So, sure we all looked this over. It didn't look as daunting as I thought it might be. There's just a few spots in here that she wants to discuss. And the purpose of this meeting is to just go over this before she gets here, so we'll all be on the same page. So if everybody looked over this thing, when I went through it, I found a couple places where there's just format, auto color, indentation, maintenance like that, but there are a few things on here that should probably be addressed, and we can go through these and just talk amongst ourselves and just explain these comments that she has in here, so we'll all know what they're about. The first one I found that we could look at was under number 2, non-permitted uses in the zoning ordinance, page 6. She's got some.
I think she made a mistake on page 4. I think she wants a carbon monoxide detector, not a carbon dioxide detector under comments.
Well, maybe a combination of both, smoke and carbon monoxide.
I don't think there is a carbon dioxide detector.
That's right, so but if that's gonna go in our zoning, that should be a CO detector, not CO2.
Well, she didn't mark it to go in there. That was a comment she made asking if we want to
Put in
put it in.
CO detector.
Yes. I don't know if we do or not.
Is that a requirement of the state?
I think if it was a requirement of the state, she would have said that we have to, that we ought to put that in our zoning, but that would just be my guess. I mean, she.
Okay. I've seen other things in here where she said it was requirements of the state.
Right, but here she's putting a question, not like actually changing.
Right,
the
well,
word.
CO2 detectors are available now, right?
Well, it'll be
CO.
CO, it'll be CO, not CO2.
CO.
But the question is, that you raised, do we want it? In the zoning.
I think the life safety code says you have to have a CO detector if you rent the property.
This
We're
is-
also talking public access for home-based business.
Say again?
We're also talking public access for home-based business. make sure it's not required.
Well, this is in an accessory dwelling unit, which wouldn't. Yeah, this is
Accessory
ADU,
dwelling
so-
unit on a property, right?
Rental property.
So, you know,
So it may not be rented, right? It could be somebody's parents.
if an accessory dwelling unit is built, it has to comply to the codes, correct?
Yeah,
So
somebody
it's-
made the comment that if you're renting it, it has to have CO detector, but just because it's an ADU doesn't mean it's gonna be rented.
So it's not a zoning ordinance, it's a building code requirement.
I would,
It's already a building code requirement now. Wolfboro is, anyway, maybe it's not everywhere. I just had to put one in a building in Wolfboro to get a CO.
So we shouldn't be talking about building code requirements in the zoning ordinance, right? Maybe the whole thing should come out. Fire alarm.
maybe, yeah.
We'll ask her that, maybe this doesn't even belong there. Any more on that? Let's just walk through this whole thing. Number 2, section D. She highlighted the last sentence on restriction of funnel development and wants to know what we mean by that. Can someone explain what funnel development is?
Yeah, I remember this. It had a lot to do with if you have a piece of land that's on the water, whatever the frontage is, you could use that land as a community property to service or allow access to the water of various homes that perhaps bordered that piece of property. In other words, a small 250-foot right-of-way on the beach could then be used to service 10 or 15 homes, and that's what they wanted to prevent, having a public beach.
Right.
You know, that was what this intended to do. I don't know whether it accomplishes it or not.
Like a grove or something like that?
What does it mean by shall not apply to the conveyance of any lot, tract, or parcel to be used and occupied exclusively as a seasonal or year-round single-family residence?
That was her question, what does that mean?
Yeah. To the conveyance.
Maybe that's what she's asking, what does this mean?
Well, she is.
Yeah, you might want to just tell her what we're trying to do with that whole section. She may just have a,
Rephrase.
A better way to do that.
yes,
Okay.
a way that's sufficient and maybe more clear.
I'm not sure what that means anyway. It's intended to apply to the funnel development of shorefront land. It shall not apply to the conveyance.
So that's a talking point. The next one, building lot requirements. Minimum lot size permitted, 2 acres or larger may be necessary to sustain development according to state lot size standards, which shall include a minimum buildable area of. She wants to talk about that. This is just the minimum lot size permitted, correct? 2 acres. And then,
I think it's possible that highlighted sentence, correct me if I'm wrong, I think at some point our zoning didn't have that part about the contiguous space, contiguous area, buildable area and things like that. It was just 2 acres. But we had the caveat in there that she highlighted and said, or larger, to make it buildable, you need more than 2 acres. But I think then we had the other verbiage added, maybe that makes the or larger.
Well, she may be also stating
Extraneous,
that some towns allow building on quarter or half-acre lots.
Well, we do too in workforce housing, so maybe there's a problem with that here too.
That could be changing zoning for workforce housing throughout the entire town. That could go by state requirements.
Well, to include all these slopes, it might have to be larger, because some of this won't be buildable. So we know where that's, another point to discuss when she's here. Number 3, letter C. She wants to know if the right-of-way is meant to be a frontage requirement. Or should it be combined with the frontage requirement? So the frontage requirement is 250 feet, right?
Yes.
So that's self-explaining. It doesn't say anything about combining it, the frontage and the depth.
I think she means the lot width at the right of way doesn't really adequately describe the frontage requirement. Does that make sense?
The lot width at the right-of-way, which is the street, correct?
Not necessarily. The water is considered a right-of-way, and that can be used. It's legal terminology for right-of-way in the state. Any water shoreline,
Water shoreline of,
considered right-of-way. And when, the way these things are worded, and we use the word right-of-way, even if you had a 10-foot piece of land to allow a driveway in, or 12 or 30 feet wide, and you had 300 feet on the water, the right-of-way might then be construed to be the 250 feet on the water makes this acceptable. I don't know if that's what this means, or that's what our intentions are, or whatever.
okay.
How much of a stream or river is required to qualify as frontage?
Does it have to be navigable?
Pardon me?
How substantial does the water have to be?
I don't know, you'd have to read the RSA, but shoreline, I think, has more to do with a water body as opposed to a stream or seasonal flow, or, I think it's a water body. If you own property on a water body, you only can own so much right to the water, and it's considered right away in the state of New Hampshire, and I don't know, you know, if we look in the RSA, we can find that out. I'm sure Laura will have the answer to that. If that's the reason for that, I don't even know that it is.
Okay,
But in this town, 250 feet on a stream is also, I believe, sufficient to make it a building lot. Because it doesn't say anything in here about navigable.
Navigable.
Thank you. So, if, you know, that's your point, how big of a stream, because I think you can build on a stream and call that a right of way.
If you have a certain amount of access to get in
Yeah.
on a road,
As long as that's what we want, but it's not just a pond.
whatever.
Well, I think that, I mean, I don't know that we've ever had a real conversation about this, but given that we say that Class 6 road doesn't qualify
Yes.
as the right-of-way, I mean, I think that the intent probably was 250 feet on a Class 5 road. Class 5 or better road would meet the frontage requirement, not a stream. Otherwise, why wouldn't we allow a Class 6 road, which is gonna be better than some stream for access? I don't know.
I agree with you.
But she
agree
she
too.
might be talking about what's challengeable.
Well, we might want to be clear on what it is that we want to allow, because she can certainly craft language that will, she can either tell us that we can't, what we want is not going to be legal, according to the state, or what we want, she can come up with a way of wording it, so that it actually says what we want, not something else.
There's another question to answer.
yeah,
Well,
we should be clear on what is a right-of-way for a building lot.
The question is, what do we want? Once we tell her what we want, she can give us the wordsmith. The challenge for us is not to have this discussion in front of her, but we should say, we want to do this, how do we word it? And not let's talk about it at $2.50 an hour.
Let me ask you, Dick, historically, you've been around for a long time, planning board and everything, I don't mean to infer anything, but planning board wise, and I don't know if we ever discussed this, we may have way back in '90s. What is your recollection about that? On the water
I
body?
think you own a property. Do you have 250 feet on Tumbledown Dick Road?
Do not.
No. And the reason that property was able to be built on was that it had frontage on a stream, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So this goes back a long, long way.
1975.
Okay.
A long way. And that's exactly the point. If you have, the intent was if you have 250 feet on a waterway, a stream or a lake, you could build, regardless of how much land you had on the road for frontage.
Meaning we don't want to mess with that probably, because it's been in existence a long time.
Well, I think you could define it more to explain the word frontage could be on a road, right-of-way, or on a lake or a waterway. I think that's what she's asking, is what's the definition of frontage?
Are we happy with some random stream counting as frontage?
It doesn't make sense.
Oh, I mean, it's so, probably the way, with the town the way it is now, it's probably fine. There's probably a couple of cases where that's been used and it's not a big deal. But if somebody comes in and wants to develop, I don't know, something, and, you know, wants to minimize the amount of road they have to build, or, you know, say there's, some a stream on that property and they want to like have 50 feet on the road for driveway, and then, have them be deep and, I don't know, get the frontage. And do, individual cases, probably not a big deal, but if a developer comes in and tries to really leverage that in laying out the development, is that a problem? Do we have a problem with that? Or are we okay with that?
Probably the idea would be
Because there's streams everywhere.
to look at the map.
They could theoretically use easements to build on backlots.
Right.
That's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, not even build a class 5 road, have a driveway, have a shared driveway that, with, easements so that people can, have, count on the access on that driveway and they get their frontage on some stream,
What does our zoning say about shared driveways?
I don't think it says anything about it.
Well,
You live on a private road, right? I mean, I don't know if you have an easement on that, on that road. You do.
Different subject.
Right, but I mean, we do have cases where you've got frontage on the lake, right? On a class 5 road. Maybe that's what we should allow. I don't know. You don't have class 5 road frontage, do you?
No, it's a private right of way.
Yeah.
well, hypothetically, what you're saying, and I agree, is that someone could conceivably cut a road in, class 6 even, along a stream, and put 5 houses along the stream with 250 feet of frontage for each one of those on a stream, with a dirt road servicing it, and end of story. That's theoretically possible, I guess.
Are we happy with that, or is that bad? And that's really the question: is are we happy allowing that?
Well,
Giving
I
somebody
remember
flexibility to do that?
12 years ago, when Dave Gottadero came before the town, and Tumbledown Dick Road was not maintained by the town, and put a petition before the town, it was a citizen's warrant, I believe, article, and he did a very good salesmanship job, and that night, at that town meeting, the town adopted Tumbledown Dick as part of our caretaking in road maintenance and plowing. Heretofore, it was up to the residents of that road to grade, maintain, and plow that road all winter. We didn't touch it.
But that has no bearing on this.
Well, it does.
Because they had 250 feet on the lake.
No, it does have bearing on it in this respect, that somebody cuts a dirt road in,
Yeah.
and they put 7 lots there on a dirt road that the town hasn't taken care of, or has no obligation to take care of until the citizens come before the town and say, hey, we pay taxes on this road with 12 building lots on a stream, and we want the town to maintain it. So a developer came in, cut a road, now the town is asked down the road, which happened once before in my memory, maybe even before that.
Right.
Now the town owns another road that it's gotta maintain and plow. I mean, it is relevant, so it is relevant to what we want or don't want as a town.
So what do you want?
I think that right-of-way on the lake seems like a no-brainer, that that's a good thing, right? We've got lots of examples of that already, right?
Yep.
You're probably maybe the only year-round resident that's in that case, maybe?
Oh, no.
No? Okay,
Maybe
so,
it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter.
but there's certainly lots of seasonal people that are down there, right?
Yeah, I think that's very limited. Pick a number, 5, 6, 7 potential developments. We have miles of streams all over this town
Yeah.
where you can make use of this to
Yeah.
put a development in. Miles of streams. I mean,
I've got 1,200 feet of frontage on Stoneham, but I literally probably have 2 miles of stream frontage on my property,
Does it make sense to ask her, is there a way to structure this so that it's exclusive of streams of a certain stature? I don't know.
just say no streams, say 250 feet on a class 5 or better right away. I think that does it.
Is the lake class?
Well, there's the lake too.
This is actually in here. It says any lot having shoreland on a lake or pond shall have a lot width of not less than 250 feet measured along the shoreline. So I mean, we've already included the lots, lakes, and ponds. in the
So then we need a
definition.
paragraph or a couple of phrases that say streams are not considered water frontage.
Non-navigable streams.
Yeah, that's fine
I
Well,
think that-
also, then you run into who decides whether it's navigable.
I don't think we have any streams in town that are.
I think
We
a
just-
boat
we just say
has,
that
a
no
boat
stream.
has to be able to go
Wait a second.
on
The
it.
Department of Navy defines any navigable waterways, any waterway that can be traveled by boat or any contributory to that waterway. The EPA guidelines, which I've studied considerably, refer to that all the time. And they consider any contributory to, even a portageway, a stream that you have a portage boats up, would be considered a navigable waterway in some cases.
But in reality, I don't think we have any real streams here.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, that opens up a pretty broad area for, as Gary said, legal wrangling. It's a pretty broad area, we better be very specific. And also, we should look at the date, and if we redefine this, where there may be some lots which would be considered non-conforming to this, redefine the date on this so that those lots, if there's a building on it, attached, it should go up as a non-conforming lot.
We're gonna get up to our non-conforming lots in here. I saw some stuff on that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I had my guess on this one, I would bet most of the people in the town would probably not want to see streams developed in that fashion.
I agree.
And that's probably a safe bet.
So the discussion should be how we could have this, define the right-of-way
Yeah.
Exactly.
as being roads,
Well,
Roads or the lake.
roads of the lake.
yeah, well, we could
And
throw at her.
I
and
think
listen.
we just probably just need to be careful about, we could either name the lake, because, somebody might have a pond that has a circumference of 250 feet or more, right? And that, if we don't want that to count as right of way, then we just have to be careful to make sure that we don't allow, that we are careful with the wording, so that just because somebody has a pond, doesn't mean that they can create a lot around that, and
True.
That could be considered a contributory to a waterway.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If they surround the entire pond, it may not be a right-of-way because nobody has access to that pond except the landowner if it's completely surrounded. So the right-of-way connotes anybody can use a right of way. I suppose if you helicoptered in, you could probably walk around the perimeter and 2 feet out from the shore, but it gets a little crazy.
Well, let's think about what we want. It sounds like we're thinking not streams
Yes,
and
Do a survey.
not a survey.
There should be a clear definition from the state of what a right-of-way is.
Well, I think that
We can define.
We can just say no streams,
We could define it the way we
or
want.
be positive and say this body of water,
either Class 5 or better road.
or this body of water,
Kingswood Lake.
done,
done.
right?
I think that that would be reasonable. And if somebody wants to create another lake at some point in the future and get it, if they can get the zoning changed to include their lake as well.
That'll be fine. Digging a lake?
I'm not planning on digging the lake.
You try to get a pond built, and
Let's,
see what you gotta go through. We got a lake.
let's move on. There's a couple of items on the next page. Item E, farm stand structures. We just put this in. It was pretty clear what we meant by this, letter I when we wrote it. Farm stand structures up to 200 feet shall be set back at least 10 feet from the travelway and no closer than the stone wall or right of way. So 10 feet from the travelway, or if there is a stone wall, like on a scenic road.
Or if I build a stone wall, I'm allowed to get, maybe that's where she's coming from.
Maybe it's just the wording of no closer than the stone wall, or you could say property boundary.
Well, where there is a stone wall, that defines the right of way.
Right. So the setback would be at least 10 feet from the travelway, comma, stone wall,
Stone wall
Comma.
above that travelway.
right, or right of way.
I can see where it depends on where the stone wall is. If it's 6 feet from the road or 30 feet from the road.
Right, that's what we talked about.
Yeah. It is a little ambiguous anyway.
Yep.
And letter G in the same section, it looks like it's an exact copy of letter D, section 2. She wants to know why it's in there twice.
We're not very good with Microsoft Word.
So we can we'll just blast that out. It's already
Yeah,
in.
she can pick which one, she can pick where it ought to be.
Which one fits best?
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Yes.
Earlier, we talked about the CO detectors. There's actually an RSA in the state of New Hampshire, 15310.
Yep,
Adopted January 1st, 2010, requires a single-family and multi-unit dwellings to have CO detectors or anything that has major renovations. Major renovation is defined as half the value of the property.
okay, so that's a building code, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
RSA 15310.
So maybe we should just refer to the current building code.
Correct.
All the time. So when the
Correct.
building code changes, we're in compliance. We should be anyway, because Ed's gonna make him follow the building code.
Next, recreational zone, Rec 1, section B. We got a few hits in there. Indentations.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 9. Comment, conditional use permits run with the land and do not expire. Renewal provisions. Did we have some discussion on this before about the conditional use permits?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think she told us before that she thinks that conditional use permits don't have an expiration date, but we think they ought to. So, probably something just to clarify with her whether or not what we're doing is abnormal, having expiration dates, or whether it's just
Right.
plain illegal.
So we want them.
We want
We
them.
want to put terms on that.
if she tells us it's illegal, we won't want them anymore. Right?
We're
Well,
gonna
it's
make sure to be
illegal, yeah.
aware of it if we do issue
We
it.
may need something else.
Uh-huh. Letter C, Workforce Housing Overlay District.
And the answer to her question is yes. We designed RA2 to cover more than half of the town, because that was required by the RSAs.
I think her question is the workforce housing overlay district a majority of the residential district?
Yes, I think that's what I just said, is that yes, the RA2, which is an overlay on RA1,
But she's questioning the workforce housing overlay.
which is RA2.
Is that RA2?
There's a map.
Oh, yeah, I know, it's just down around 109, right?
No,
Well, actually, my place and Joe's place next to me are included in workforce housing, but I think it was also two other spots.
it's more than half the town.
Okay.
Yeah, there's,
We're the only two in that area.
there's a map, so.
Yeah, okay, I understand, I thought it was just a very small area.
So the thing that was a small area was the multifamily.
Oh.
Multifamily was on
Thank you.
state road, just on the state roads, I think, is what he said.
That was my confusion.
Okay, she touches on that, next page, 10, multifamily dwelling. We have a definition in here that we can't change.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be, I don't know, can you imagine somebody coming and deciding to put in, 100-unit apartment building in town?
No.
People would freak out.
Yeah,
I'd freak out.
I didn't know it was skyscraper in town.
It can't be
Have to go
more,
up.
can't be more than 35 feet tall. That's in the zoning too.
Oh, wait a minute, the state's.
We get our money's worth out of the school district.
I know what the chat's about. There's an awful lot of stuff involved in making a multifamily structure. From water, sewage, all that. And we're not defining any of that stuff.
Well, she's saying that we can't limit it to 3 to 6.
Right.
Multifamily, she's saying, is 5 or more.
But any
With no
number
limit.
would have to require certain septic requirements and state, have to have state approval anyways.
Right, but we,
Yeah,
Our
the-
definition doesn't
yeah,
comply with the state
intent was to keep
definition.
it down to a bare minimum.
right, I think that's what she's saying, if I understand what she's saying correctly, but, and the state says we have to allow multifamily somewhere in town. Remember, that was an issue we had previously, because there's only didn't allow multifamily at all.
And then she wants to talk about, number 2, item B. We have, there shall be no more than one multifamily structure permitted per lot. Did someone just say multiple multifamilies on a lot? Is that what you're gonna build?
No, anyway, I think
Skyscraper.
we should talk to her about what we can do. Even if that means we have our zoning, something that's not really particularly defensible, just make sure there's somebody who really wants to come in and put an apartment building, they're gonna have to go to court to, get around our zone, to get our zoning declared illegal or something. That's the route we wanna go, but, I just can't imagine,
Well,
it would be
anything-
totally, a big apartment building would be totally contrary to our master plan,
Right,
and totally contrary to,
the town,
the way the character of the town.
character of the town, exactly.
There's so many different convoluted issues here depends on the lot too. I mean, they have to comply with state septic and well requirements.
Well, that's a given, but I mean, it's,
Yeah,
even if they're gonna find, if somebody who really wants to do a project, they'll find an appropriate lot to do it on. And the question is, do we,
a 40-acre lot maybe.
Mm-hmm.
maybe, but maybe not.
We got
You
40
know,
acre lots.
they may be able to get, you know, a big enough septic on a 2 acre or 3 acre lot. You know,
For a certain size
put in a
family.
20 unit building or something.
Well, they wouldn't be able to do it for a 20-unit building, but
Why not?
there'll be, because there would be no, just from my knowledge of the industry, on 2 acres, you wouldn't be able to put a sizable enough septic system with a reserve according to state standards to build a building that would house that many tenants on that size parcel and give adequate septic and water supply. Just wouldn't happen according to state standards. You'd need more land.
Yeah, we're asking for 5 acres or greater.
I'm not even talking about parking, I'm just talking about the sanitary end of it. So, but it's relevant, you know, if you get into a 20-acre parcel, you could put a
Yeah,
big structure on it.
if nothing's said about it now, I mean, we think, you know, we're in the middle of nowhere, no one's gonna wanna do it, but
That's why she has chat down there.
Yeah.
We're gonna chat.
things happen.
Maybe it should be restrictions like, 25.
If it's not part of the characteristic of the town, we're supposed to protect that too, right?
Technically, if I want to put a restriction
Cat.
in place my back acreage, technically,
Yeah.
and
I know, like he's done.
not that I ever have any intent of doing so, but say somebody does, and you look at this, and see that it's under workforce housing, and they offer me, you know, $250,000 for it.
Yeah, Rich has a good point. We probably, even if you're listening, Laura, I have to say this, we probably should like narrow down our chat tonight to the point where this is what we want to do. You pinned it so that we aren't paying Laura for too many hours of chatting with too many people. I'll shut up. I can sit here and listen.
Yeah,
We
well,
kind
Yeah,
of,
right.
That's
no,
why
but we probably should narrow that down.
That's
These
why
are
we're
the
here
questions.
tonight, we're chatting, right? This is the chat session.
Yeah, put down what.
So we should
what want to talk
go
about.
back over this and say, this is what we want to know. You do that, you're the chairman or the administrator.
So we're gonna cover this, but just make sure we're happy with what we got here. Make sure we can keep it.
Well, I think that, you know, conversation can be, how much can we restrict multifamily, right? I mean, because it doesn't fit in with the master plan, it doesn't fit in with the town as it exists now. And, you know, how much can we get away with? What's our strategy for minimizing the damage developer could do?
One thing that we don't want to do is build a costly battleground for lawsuits and.
Especially with the workforce housing law.
Exactly.
No, we may want to. We may, is it better for us to spend, is it better for us as a town spend $50,000 on potential lawsuits, or have development that, you know, changes the character of the town in a way that we don't want?
Well, my point being is make sure that we're within our guidelines and our auspices of this board and what we can do as a community to make the restrictions that we're looking to do as a community. And we don't want to get, you know, we're going to spend the $500,000 if we can do it legally by rewording this.
Yes.
Well, you know what the gorilla in the room is with this kind of thing, which probably will never happen in Brookfield. But if it were, a big building, you know, intimates that there will be a lot of families living in a small place, which means a whole lot of children from a very low tax apportioned part of the town, which means everybody else is gonna support that school, which is a toughie, that's,
Right.
you know. But,
Okay.
you know, prejudice, I agree, admit it.
Moving along, Article 4, non-conforming use, non-conforming lots. On page 14, there's a couple of bullets. This is one that I was looking at, well, zoning ordinances, special exceptions. Why do we have special criteria in our zoning? This says to me that the ZBA can override our zoning and just do whatever they want.
Hardship is basically the one basic one, because I've been through this. If there's a hardship, the ZBA can grant a variance to ameliorate hardship. And I don't know how you define that.
So-
There's 5 criteria the ZBA has to follow to grant a hardship. And if they can't satisfy those 5 criteria, it's not a hardship. That's specified in the RSAs.
Yeah, my guess would be we can get rid of any verbiage about special exceptions.
Yes.
Right.
I think ZBA RSAs cover
Yes.
that.
Yes, I believe so.
And I don't know that we have any reason why we want to differ from what those RSAs say. In terms of the 5 criteria.
You know, I don't want to see language open structure like that. Let's move over to Article 7, personal wireless service facilities. Is that cell towers?
Yep.
She says there's new rules for locations which will need to be incorporated.
Co-locations.
We don't even know what that means. She'll have to explain that.
Please explain.
Well, I would assume that means that, let's say on your property, you have a small section you want to rent to somebody to use it as for a tower. That'd be co-location.
Well, we're gonna find out what the new rules are. Buzzing right along. There's some bullets on page 28 and 29. Site plan reviews. She says, we cannot, up on the top,
The selectmen have to go.
we cannot require site plan reviews.
Can I jump us back to page 16, just a question? Every time we
16.
reference an RSA, I feel like we're vulnerable, because if the RSA changes, we're locked into that change. And on page 16, Article 6, manufactured housing as permitted by is allowed. So if the state decides to change that RSA, we're going along with it whether we like it or not. Would it make sense to take out of RSA to what we want today and put that in our zoning?
Well, you could put in the RSA as stated on this date.
I understand, but my concern is that if somebody changes the RSA, we come along with it whether we like it or not.
No, if we say the RSA as of this date, then we have to revise it or.
Or just take the wordage out, but what's your opinion on something like that? Being tracked in an RSA?
We have that in other sections, don't we?
Yes, we do.
The only problem with referring to an RSA of a certain date, a number of years ago, is that's just hard to get into finding definitions, you know.
So you could extract it, you could extract the wording and put it here.
That's what I would think of doing if that's important.
If,
Depends on how bad the wording is.
It's also our job to know if the RSA has changed by reviewing the ordinances, and it makes it easier for everybody just to refer back to that RSA. We should know what the changes were at 674-32. And if you start adding this, now you're gonna have to keep changing your documents over and over.
no, I'm saying we make it static. We like what it says today, so we put that in our zoning. And if in the future someone wants to change that, then we talk about it and change it. The way it's written today, if the legislature wants to change it, we go along with it.
I understand.
But if it's 3 pages long, we got a whole lot of pages in there. That's the, I don't know, how big is 674-32, you know?
So we
Whether
have,
we want to add bulk.
Maybe we just ask the question.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
I don't know.
would be a good question to ask.
are we having a issue with manufactured housing, or are we having an issue with having the RSA
The
as
RSA.
amended
The
tied to
RSA.
it?
It was just an example.
Just in general.
The RSA, if we refer to an RSA and the RSA changes, we go along with it.
That may be what we really want to do, though, in some cases. Like if the RSA says that we have to allow manufactured housing, then you know, if they change it, it's probably gonna be, we have to allow the changes as well, and so, you know, it sort of may be, you know, we're doing that only because the state says we have to, and so we have to track the changes that they made.
Yeah, there are some other changes that are coming through that we may not want to embrace. Agritourism,
Well, in that case, we definitely want to have some kind of tracking system, if we are going to do it.
That's what I was saying.
much broader with respect to what you're allowed to do on a farm. If you have a farm and you have an operating farm, they're broadening that significantly.
Yeah, you can bring in Ringling Brothers down
I
there.
guess,
Make it operating.
manufacture carburetor parts.
Yeah. High flying trapeze off the end.
I look good in tights. Spandex.
Okay, let's move up to, procedure for review, page 28. Back to the, site plan review. No planning board, Board of Selectmen, building inspector, so that's coming out. Next page, 29. She's got a comment on here about meteorological towers. Do not need site plan approval. So those are coming out. So anybody can throw one of them up?
They say these do need
They
site
do
plan.
need it. But they are not entitled to the
Oh.
protections afforded to small wind energy systems.
Okay.
So I think what this change means that we would not be allowing Met towers.
Well, that would have to go to a site plan review.
Well, where she crossed off the meteorological tower is where it's saying that it's permitted use. I think if it doesn't say it's permitted use, then
It's not permitted,
not permitted, right?
so that comes out. Letter D, use regulations, took out the planning board again. That's okay. Next one shows up on page 45. Definitions,
You said 40 now?
45. Environmental assessment, EA.
I have a copy of what the EA is. It stands for environmental assessment when the significance of impacts of a transportation project proposed is uncertain. An environmental assessment or an EA is prepared to assist in making this determination. And if it's found that it has a significant impact, it results in the preparation of the environmental impact statement, an EIS, and it should commence immediately. I have copies right here if you want to read that.
So I think we skipped over, on page 34, she changed her definition for small wind energy system from 20 kilowatts to 100 kilowatts. So it makes it so you can have five, that makes it so you can have 5 times the size system.
Did we do that? I don't have a footnote on that.
She did. Maybe Wilson.
You say 34.
3456.
Yep.
Small wind energy system definition. She marked up cross out the 20 and add 100. So now that might just be that we can't, according to state law, we can't prevent somebody from doing, something
to
between
100.
20 and 100.
Well, that could be also a Department of Energy definition of small.
Right, so I think the question for her is, can we limit it to 20? Because that was, I think, intentional. I remember we had a conversation about that when we were,
20 would be enough for a residence, a small farm.
I think that was the assumption, is that you could, most people probably could get by on 10, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's gotta be some statutory thing, or she wouldn't have underlined it and made it an issue.
Yeah, she would have made it over.
Right, we should talk to her about that and see if we have the option of making it smaller. And her answer's, I'm guessing, we know.
Yeah, well, how did you find that? Just going page by page? She doesn't have a note on it. So,
That's raw, he goes through everything
uh-huh.
in detail. You know.
Well, it's easy to see where there's changes, because there's a line in the margin
Right.
next to where there's a change.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
okay. So not everything is, I gotta go through this slower.
So she was asking if the environmental assessment is actually used anywhere in our zone.
Yeah, I don't know of any place where we actually reference that, so if it's not used, we should get it out of our definition, like, I think is what she's saying.
Next one shows up on page 47. Definition of lot. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, saying a lot shall have frontage on a public street or approved private road.
In other words, I see what she's saying. The definition of a lot doesn't have anything to do with the qualifications of frontage.
Yeah, for the building.
This is a definition of the word lot, and
Uh-huh.
frontage.
So instead of the definition of lot, would it be building lot?
Well, it may not be buildable. It could be a non-buildable lot, but it's a lot.
So do we allow buildings on private roads?
Like your house,
Like,
for example?
like if I take my road, Beat Dam Road, and make it a half a mile longer, away from the lake.
Then it wouldn't,
There's nothing in the ordinance that stops it.
That's right.
Nothing.
So the road all of a sudden, right now it hugs the lake or whatever. And I shoot it into the backcountry.
Yeah.
So now we have frontage on a road.
The right of way, as long as doesn't define right of way as a class 5 or
Right, I
better.
think we just need to, back to our earlier conversation, we just need to figure out what we want our requirement to be,
Okay.
and we'll just get Laura to give us words that,
So in addition to water, we also have private roads that are just dirt roads, that if we allow 250 feet of frontage on, you can put a lot on.
Technically, you can do it right now.
well, it does say that class 6 roads don't qualify
Right,
as that
qualifies
frontage.
as classified.
But I'm not sure what,
Right. That's right.
I mean, I think our intent, we should just figure out what our intent is, which I think is that frontage on a private road doesn't count toward,
I think that's the intent, but I'm not sure it says it anyway.
yeah, so we'll just make sure it does when she's done with it.
That could definitely be a vulnerable potential.
Yes.
May I speak?
Yes.
East.
Oh, I thought.
Welton
No, Dick was
Farms-
raising his hand.
Drew
Dick,
Farms
please.
Has private roads,
Yes, but that was a subdivision.
yes. And if the road is built to the spec of the town road, then you can build on it.
So what you're saying is if I extend my road,
Right. I don't think you can build on it because you haven't built it to the spec, to the town spec.
and
Class
the town,
5.
and the town would not give me a subdivision if I wanted to carve a couple acres out for a new house.
You'd have to build the road up to the town spec, that's the way.
To get a subdivision.
Now, that brings us to another question. What if you wanted to, your grandmother was moving up, or your father, or one of your kids? Could you extend your private road and subdivide a piece of property? That's what Bob Bordeaux was talking about here last year. To put your child in a house on that road across from you on a piece of property. I mean, I think we have to consider that before we make something
As long as it makes it fine, it's
strictly
Sure.
taboo.
Yeah, I got 10 acres. If I push the road back there and carve out 2 acres.
Yeah, I mean, our intent is not to develop, have somebody up there putting 7 houses.
Right.
But we don't want to make it impossible for someone to do what I was just saying.
Right.
You just have to build a class 5 road.
Well, what if you've got a class 6 road to your house in existence already?
Yeah.
Inherent in that is you're not going to have a class 6 road to that point, and not all of a sudden, 5 road, but you're going to have to build a class 5 from there, the 150 feet more to get to the child's house. I think that's
You just have to
kind
make
of
sure
silly.
that the new lot has 250 feet on a class 5 road.
So
Doesn't
from
have to have a
that,
driveway there.
huh?
Doesn't have to have a driveway on the road.
Just needs the frontage.
Just needs the frontage, right? The frontage allows us to control the density of development and that, the things are closer to the road, which is,
What's your road?
Meet Dam Road.
I understand that, but I mean, what is it,
So-
class 6?
Yeah, it's a private right of way.
Private right away.
but it doesn't it's not up to class 5 spec.
No, I know it.
I'm not- I think it would be class 6 road. right?
So if his daughter wanted to build a house in the back and he wanted to sub off 10 acres for purposes of financing, he would have to, at the end of that right of way, build a class 5 road to get to his daughter's house so that she would be able to have 250 feet of frontage on it. I think that we should avoid that somehow if we can.
But wouldn't the entire road have to qualify as a class 5?
No, it's not as I see it. It says that the frontage has to be on a class 5 road. Doesn't mean that you have to be on a class 5 road to get there.
Wasn't the intent for the building law was for access for emergency vehicles, a class 5 road?
Well, but I mean,
Class 5
Rich
road.
is
I mean-
half a mile down a really crappy driveway, right?
Well, I
Yeah.
can throw a class 5 in my backyard. You can build one, I mean, everybody can follow the specs to build one, but whether there's access to that on a class 5, if that would be the qualification, we definitely need to clarify that. There's no statement of private or public roads, as well as these class 5 requirements.
Well, class 5 road's a good road, isn't it?
Yeah, a decent road.
Class 5,
Yeah.
seasonal to camps, I think.
I don't know. Is that what you're talking about? What's the one up by Drew Park? Drew Farm? Is that class 5 or class 4? That's a nice road.
Class 5, I think.
Yeah, that's when I say class 5, that's what I think a class 5 is.
But class 5 can be pretty bad. I mean,
Can be?
well, yeah, look at Stoner Road.
Yeah, before the fix, or even now.
Yeah, the parts that have been fixed in 30 years, right? I mean, it's still a class 5 road, it's still crappy. Right? I mean,
But if somebody had to build 300 feet of class 5 road at the end of his road so his daughter could live there, that might cost them $20,000 to do that,
Yeah.
which is, I think, is absurd in some cases. I don't know how we separate the cases on an individual basis.
well,
We
what
should
you're
ask
talking-
her that.
Well, what you're talking about is, do we want to allow family compounds? Right, which is not, I mean, lots of places allow it.
One accessory dwelling.
The Marriotts are not moving here, but you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
But we allow accessory buildings for relatives.
well, no, it's an accessory dwelling unit, has to be part, in the single-family residence, right, it has to be part of the same building. We tried to make it, so, 4 or 5 years ago, right, there was a proposal to allow them in separate buildings, but, I mean, that's.
I understand, but that's on one lot.
There are places that allow you to have one lot, multiple dwellings, right, we're not one of them.
We're not looking for that. I'm just saying if he subbed off a lot.
No, but what you're saying is, well.
It's not a family compound.
What you're trying to do is wedge a family compound into our existing zoning. If you'd want somebody to be able to have their kids or their parents come and live on their property, without having to do a survey and goes through subdivision and everything else. I mean, you can write zoning that will allow that. I don't know if we want to.
That's
but
my
but we
point. Do we
could.
want to make somebody spend $20,000 to $30,000 on a class 5 road so that their kid can live? They don't have to right now at this moment.
But that would be a case for the ZBA,
Maybe.
because then you got the five hardships you could try to
And
argue.
then you have the,
Or we could just allow somebody to do that,
Yes, you could, if that's what we want to do.
if that's what we want to do, right?
If you don't want to do it, then you say, okay, we're going to deal with it.
well, we provide for that with the accessory dwelling, correct?
No, we allow it now. If somebody wants to if you want to I'm using you as an
I
example, because you're
understand, it's a
perfect
good
for it.
example.
If you want to sub off 2 acres back there,
Yep,
so that your daughter can come and live there because she got
whatever.
some kind of physical handicap, you want them close. Are we putting people in a position by creating a new ordinance that says they have to build at the end of this path, a class 5 road for the last 250 feet, just so they can park their daughter's house on it? We don't make that a necessity now at this point. It's not in our zoning. Do we want to make that in our zoning? Or do we want to find a way around having
I think it is
that?
in our zoning.
No, it is not. You can extend it's got to be a right of way. Doesn't have to be a class 5 road.
Well, it can't be class 6. It cannot be class 6.
That doesn't count as frontage.
But it can be a right of way.
See, part of the
But
problem,
how do you have a, like, not expensive right of way?
Well-
That's not class 6.
How many houses are down there?
but the town, the selectmen in the past have authorized building on that road.
Yeah.
So if I make that road longer, I can build on it.
Well, the building, where it was built on, is on the lake side, right? Where they've got the right of way on the lake.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that's what the selectmen granted when they granted permission to build on that road.
Are
Do you
there
remember?
is there anybody who has frontage only on that road and not on the lake that has a
Oh.
building?
No.
Okay, so we don't have that case yet.
Okay.
Doesn't mean, I'm not sure that we want to, we should get Laura involved right now, but I mean, if we wanted to support a family being able to have multiple generations living on the same piece of property or whatever, we certainly can figure out, there are places that allow it, right? You mentioned the Marriotts, right? There, I don't know what the zoning looks like there, but it certainly is allowed, right? I think, right? They've
Yeah,
got
they
30
got-
houses there, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
What's that?
Oh, Tufton Borough Neck, they own 1,900 acres out there. Quite a nice place.
Oh,
Multiple.
multiple houses.
It may all be subdivided too. I'm sure it's all
You don't know.
legal.
You don't know, right?
No, I'm not intimating the Marriott's doing anything weird. That just,
no, but I mean, there are places that have zoning that allows for family compounds, right? And we could probably find some ordinance, or get Laura to write us some ordinance that would allow that, if we decided we wanted that. I'm just not sure how you make it so that somebody doesn't just build 20 houses.
I don't know
and
either.
rent out 19 of them.
Yeah, I don't
Or
want
20 of
that.
them.
We don't want that. I'm just saying we should be careful in how we go about it, that's all. But anyway.
All right, we just got a couple more points to cover in here. Back to page 47, HH, the lot definition, parcel of land, at least sufficient in size to meet minimum zoning requirements. And she talks again about a lot with or without frontage. If you want to require frontage on a public-private road, that should be up in the dimensions section of the ordinance. Let's back to the front, where we have dimensions of the lots.
I hate to belabor it, but do we define approved private road? Do we need a definition on that?
I think if we're gonna use it, we need to define that. I just don't think that I don't think we have an approval process for,
Yeah, here we are, we're back to that.
Yeah.
We're right back, it's on an approved private road.
So
Is there a contradiction between that and the class 5 business? We used to find a lot here that,
well, approved by who? Selectmen, planning board?
we just defined it, it's obviously by the town in our ordinance.
Years ago, the selectmen signed a document, and we'll have to look for it, that allows development on specifically that road. Now, I'm not sure how that road was defined.
That road meet Dam Road?
Yeah, I don't know if it's defined today's length, tomorrow's length. So, I mean, and that's what's driving this point. I don't know what that definition is, what an approved road is, or is that an approval? Did they make the approval for the road, not recognizing the road can grow? I don't know.
So I think she's telling us to push that back up to the building lot requirements in number
Yes.
3.
Yes.
But specify
Yes.
what it is.
We'll have to do that.
That's
We'll
what
have
she's
to
looking for.
specify what's a private road,
Was an approved private road.
approved private road.
Or maybe we don't need that language.
Maybe we don't.
We just say it's a class 5 road, or
That would do it.
Let's-
town road, or.
Let's know the definition of class 5.
Town roads do too.
I don't know, we want to allow people like you on the lake, right? Even though you don't have frontage on a town road, you've got frontage on the lake.
But that's grandfather. So now you go to the other side of the lake where there's some raw land. You're gonna take the dirt road that's over there and extend it for a half a mile and build houses, or you're gonna make it a class 5 road?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Now, at the end of your road, the lots start coming down from Tumbledown, right?
Yeah, but over there, the same situation exists over there, with plenty of raw land over there.
Uh-huh.
So now it happens to be in a trust today. But someday it comes out in a trust, and you got 1,000 feet of frontage on the lake. Are we gonna let them put a dirt road down there, keep going, or are you gonna say that's where it's gotta become class 5?
I see.
Right? That would be a good example, because there's a lot of land over there that you could develop. And you've got a dirt road going to it today. So you can extend the dirt road and just keep building.
Just on the page 48 of the definitions, there's three more comments. What's your favorite comment? Question, question,
Oh,
question?
question marks.
Owner.
Read owner.
Those natural persons who hold legal or equitable title or a legally enforceable beneficial interest for life in the SFR to which the ADU is or proposed to be incorporated. What's that mean?
SFR is single family residence.
Yeah.
ADU is accessory
Accessory
dwelling.
dwelling.
So I think that our zoning says that you gotta, the owner has to live there.
Right.
If you can have an ADU, the owner has to live in the dwelling.
So we'll
So
explain
you
that.
can't
Keep
have
that
an
there.
ADU, you can't have a dwelling that has an ADU and rent out both parts of it, potentially to different people, right? That's I think the intent of that.
Okay.
But maybe that definition of owner is wacky, I don't know.
Well, owner, in all intents and purposes, the person who holds title. It's- Or person or entity that holds title.
I'm stuck on the natural persons.
I know, I like that.
I thought we were,
This is my favorite, I like this one.
according to some elected officials, we're corporate citizens. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, according to, you know, Supreme Court.
Move down to
Corporations are people.
Move down to UU, radio frequency radiation, emissions from personal wireless service facilities. Are these terms used anywhere?
Yes, page 25 of 56, number 12.
Why is TT in there anyway? Maybe I missed something somewhere along the line. Do we call a radio frequency engineer in our ordinance someplace?
I haven't seen it yet.
Is that a ham radio operator or something?
No, that's for the wireless communication. Radio frequency engineer is an individual who evaluates what type of radiation is coming from that antenna. I did not see reference to radio frequency engineer, but I did see radio frequency radiation.
But why are we compelled to define what a radio frequency engineer is? It's just,
Because in monitoring and maintenance, The monitoring is part of the issuance of the site plan for approval of the building permit. The property owner shall agree that the town of Brookfield may enter into the subject property and obtain the RFR measurements and noise measurements. So in here, we should include that the noise measurement should be performed by a radio frequency engineer, if we're going to be referring to this.
Why are we defining it in the definition page?
Somebody took
Because it's in the zoning ordinance.
Stuck it into our thing and had that defined, right? I mean, that's,
But a radio frequency engineer is a radio frequency engineer, and our definition doesn't change anything. Doesn't do us any good. I mean, I don't even know that that should be there.
It's just in a glossary because it's mentioned in the
Unless
zoning
you,
ordinance.
unless you get into it and starts defining what credentials the radio engineer, frequency engineer has to have in terms of schooling and this, that, and the other thing, this is an absolutely useless piece of verbiage.
Just because you've got no use for a radio frequency engineer up in place,
It's just totally useless.
you know, be prepared. And last, the right-of-way, up comes the class 6 again. Right-of-way means includes and is limited to all town, state, federal highways or private ways dedicated to public use as property shown on approved subdivision plan. Definition only implies acceptance of any private rights of way by the town of Brookfield. So, does that comment include class 6 roads?
Should. I think, may I speak?
Yes.
The last sentence, this definition in no way implies acceptance of any private right-of-way by the town of Brookfield and/or Class 6 road should be in there. Because we're not including a Class 6 road as a right-of-way.
Well, that's what she's asking.
Right. But when you
We're not-
reference
we're
it,
not- They're right-of-ways, but we're not including them for frontage.
Yeah. We can right away access Fire Road.
Class 6 roads are roads.
No. Or footpath that would run next to my place.
I think right-of-ways include class 6 roads.
There's access to that property.
So that's yes, right?
well, it depends on how we want, where we're using right of way and how we want it. We just need to be careful, if we do have it include class 6 roads and private roads and things like that, we just need to make sure that we don't say that the 250 feet of frontage on a right of way, it's any right of way. We have to there list which kinds of right of ways that we want for a building lot.
So we have to be specific on the right-of-ways for building lots.
If we don't, unless we have the definition of right-of-way be exactly what we want for building lots, and only use it with reference to building lots.
So we can put that in there in reference to building lots.
But we should change it to building lot acceptance. I mean, right of way is on that way for access. But the building lots, we should include, must be classified or better.
Right, so
The right of way is probably.
the building,
It would be a right of way.
the building lot criteria has to specify what frontage is on. Did we miss any? One.
Page 55, there's an insert date. Oh, no.
You can't put a date in that.
Yeah, I think we just need to put, April 1st, right? It's an annual report due on April 1st, right? What time of the year is the annual report due?
Okay.
Or June 1st, or whatever, some, I don't think we really care what the date is, but.
That's it. Now, the only other thing I see is just page 57 through 59.
57, 53, 54.
just gotta get that changed, the numbering. Does everybody feel ready for Laura, the next meeting?
Oh, we don't just need to be scary.
Okay. That's it, going over the zoning ordinance. Any member comments?
Did this 175 last year.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks for coming.
On the meeting we're having when Laura's coming,
Yes.
is that the only agenda item, or are you going to do normal business? Just questioning.
I expect it to be normal business, but it's gonna be the bulk of it.
Which is why I put off normal business till the end, just to make sure we have enough time to, in case this gets lengthy, there's a couple of points made.
But we don't want